I have the 13 horror movies that you need to watch in March of 2025. What's up, cretins? What's up, creeps? My name is Chris. I am the only person talking horror on the internet. Hit the subscribe and save this one. I do one of these every month. From new releases to milestone anniversaries, from holiday celebrations to underseen exploitations, this is your calendar of carnage for Monstarch of 2025. Did you say Monstarch? That's not Spooky March. That's like a laundry supplement for Space Jam villains. Hey, speaking of laundry, after we've all reveled in the fact that The Substance, Nosferatu, and Alien Romulus each took home every single Oscar that they were nominated for on March 2nd, manifested, I can't do this all on my own. I'm going to start you off on March 3rd with the 30th anniversary of The Mangler. Based on a short story by Stephen King, directed by Tobe Hooper, and starring Robert Englund. An absolute dream team for 90s horror. The Mangler is about a laundry machine that's possessed by a demon. Really? Somehow it's not as bad as it sounds. Englund is great. Hooper shot the thing well. It's at the end of a cycle of Stephen King mania. It's not a great movie. If you want that, the 3rd is also the 80th anniversary of The Picture of Dorian Gray. And that is a great film, but it's barely horror. And I think that maybe The Mangler will resonate a little bit better with you. It was Englund's first work after he had presumably laid Freddy Krueger to rest for good with Wes Craven's New Nightmare, and it was Tobe Hooper's final theatrically released film. Give it a shot, you may actually like it. Right, second on the 4th is the 50th of Trilogy of Terror numbers. Originally airing on ABC on March 4th, 1975, Trilogy of Terror was a made-for-TV movie at a time when networks not only regularly produced in-house features, but those in-house features were regularly horror movies. Enough so that if you look at Trilogy of Terror's director, Dan Curtis's filmography, you can see that while he did dabble in theatrical with 1976's Burnt Offerings, his notoriety came from doing sometimes up to 5 made-for-TV horror movies in a single calendar year. And Trilogy of Terror is not only his most noteworthy work, it's always in the conversation, if not at the top of the list, of the scariest made-for-TV movies of all time. You think that people weren't ready for Pennywise in 1990? Ask the generation above them what the Zuni fetish doll did to them. My best friend's mother-in-law is still terrified of that thing to this day. Sorry, buddy. I should tell you more about the movie, right? Cool. So this is an anthology horror that's told in 3 unrelated stories. The only ties being that they all star OG Scream Queen Karen Black, who you know from Hitchcock's Family Plot, the aforementioned Burnt Offerings, and as the original Mother Firefly in Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses. And all 3 segments are based on stories by Richard Matheson. Your favorite works by him are Stir of Echoes, any one of the 3 adaptations of I Am Legend, or the Nightmare at 20,000 Feet episode of The Twilight Zone. These stories involving a student-teacher relationship gone awry, a woman who's plotting a voodoo curse against her identical twin sister, and that aforementioned unrelenting Zuni fetish doll are solid from start to finish. I can't urge you enough to give this one a shot. Next up, March 5th marks Ash Wednesday. And as we are all followers of all things holy, let's celebrate our Savior for conquering the Deadites with your favorite installment from the Evil Dead franchise. Be it one of the original trilogy, a few episodes of the series, a bootleg of the musical, hell, I'll even accept if you want to read a comic book or play a video game in this situation, provided that you grab your boomstick and hail to the king, Ash Williams. And from there, we're jumping to the 7th. I have to make note of Mickey 17. This is not going to be an official entry to the list because I don't think that it's horror, but it has to be made note of because writer-director Bong Joon-ho usually manages to sneak some horror in there, so don't say I didn't tell you. But that is not what we are here for. We are here for the release of The Rule of Jenny Penn. If you recall, last September at Fantastic Fest, The Rule of Jenny Penn was all the rage for like a day or two until they did an early screening of Heretic. But this was the movie that ended up nabbing James Ashcroft Best Director and Jeffrey Rush Best Actor for the entire festival. John Lithgow and some kind of baby head doll puppet thing co-star in what looks to be a wild ride that was immediately snatched up by Shudder and has been lauded by everybody from Stephen King to Variety since. Coincidentally, or perhaps not, it's a weird baby doll head day all around on the 7th because it also marks the 50th anniversary of Dario Argento's Profondo Rosso. You know it as Deep Red. A top-tier entry not only from Argento's catalog, but a definitive work to the entire giallo genre in general. Deep Red follows a musician who's investigating a serial killer. I mean, that sounds like the most qualified person you can get for that job. Since it's Argento, you're gonna get his artful and swift approach to kills, a bright color palette, use of broken glass, unnecessary telepathy, and a killer soundtrack. In fact, Deep Red marks Claudio Simonetti and Goblin's first ever soundtrack and score. The influence of Deep Red is still apparent today. It has been cited by Romero, Carpenter, and Cronenberg as an influence, and actually James Wan claims that the utilization of the baby doll as a harbinger of doom is what directly inspired Billy the Puppet from the Saw franchise. And you can see as well that the killer in Deep Red later directly influenced the look of the killer in his own Malignant. You too are going to wish that you had eyes in the back of your head by the time that we hit the 13th for the 10th anniversary of our 6th film, It Follows. David Robert Mitchell's absurd-sounding story of a sexually transmitted curse took the world by storm and became the buzz horror flick of 2015 thanks to its brilliantly effective execution. What followed was a then-unknown Micah Monroe becoming noteworthy as a Hollywood name, but also staying true to her roots and still doing low-budget horror when she can. Always nice when we make the right person famous. A sequel, They Follow, was announced a year and a half ago with original cast and crew on board. It's been a minute since we've heard anything on that front, but I'm sure that I'm not alone in preferring to wait for a better film than rush anything. We still have that original lurking about, as it has been for the past 10. And from there, man, are you in luck, because the 17th is St. Patrick's Day. And what better way to celebrate than by watching your lucky 7th flick, Final Destination, to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the landmark horror film. Before the roller coaster and the tanning beds, the elevator, the support beam, the bridge, and the racetrack, the franchise that made it impossible to drive behind logging trucks got its start on March 17th in the year 2000 with the premonition of the tragedy of Flight 180. What may be the best application of the teens smarter than the villain trope that permeated all horror at that point in time, this followed a group of survivors as they avoid Rube Goldberg machines that spell their demise. Not only is this one of the most well-regarded franchises in general, when you really think about it, this is the first great horror franchise of the 2000s. And really, if you've never noticed, it has an irregularly broad appeal. There are plenty of people that state that they hate horror movies, but they totally get down with the entirety of the Final Destination franchise. Why is that? I know that you're stoked on the sequel that's coming in May. You've got plenty of time to revisit the entire series. Start by honoring the original on its silver anniversary. And my premonition on your future is fuck you. And moving right along with fuck you. On March 21st, fuck you! Fucking whatever. Cretins, creeps, we all know that we're gonna do it. On St. Patrick's Day, you have to watch a Leprechaun movie. I don't make the rules. And while I would personally recommend sticking to the earlier half of the 8-film franchise, March 28th marks the 25th anniversary of Leprechaun in the Hood. But I'm not gonna make you watch Lep in the Hood on the 28th. We have other business to attend to on that day. I'm gonna make you watch it on St. Patrick's Day. Just do it, enjoy it for what it is. Stop taking yourself so seriously, you know you love it. Follow the rainbow all the way to your local theater and trade in your pot of gold on March 21st for a ticket to catch Anthony Hopkins and Bill Skarsgård in our 9th movie for March, Locked. Based on the 2019 Argentinian flick 4x4 and from producer Sam Raimi, Skarsgård stars as a car thief who chooses the wrong vehicle. Looking to be part speed, part saw, and all adrenaline-filled lunacy, lock yourself in and try to enjoy the ride. And on the 22nd, all you Roy boys can rejoice because it's the 40th anniversary of our 10th flick, Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. One of, if not the most maligned in the series, F-13V follows Tommy Jarvis to the Pinehurst halfway house, and we all know where this goes. What was intended to be the first installment of a new trilogy in a different direction is the cheese that stands alone in this 12-film series.
I mean, you could say that about like 4 of those movies.
It does feature some of the most inventive and brutal kills in the set, and I'll be honest with you, I, as somebody who is not a huge Friday the 13th fan, do not mind this movie. No, it does not succeed in the way that Halloween 3 or Wes Craven's New Nightmares pivots did, but this is a more than serviceable slasher of the time period. Grab a chocolate bar and give it another chop. Or shot, for that matter. Save some of those snacks for your next theatrical excursion, because on the 28th, we've got a double feature. First up, A24 is bringing us whatever the fuck they did with Paul Rudd, Jenna Ortega, Will Poulter, and Téa Leoni in Death of a Unicorn. This horror comedy follows Ortega's Ridley as she accidentally hits a unicorn while driving, only to find out that the creature has healing powers. And when they choose to exploit that, dues will have to be paid. I have no idea what is going to happen in this movie. I think that is the way to approach this. Just go in and trust whatever they're gonna do. And either before or after that, grab your chair to sit with The Woman in the Yard. A far more bleak and a far more serious film than Death of a Unicorn looks to be, The Woman in the Yard introduces us to the recently widowed Ramona and her 2 children who move to a farmhouse where a woman starts appearing and tormenting them. I don't know if this is a ghost story or a home invasion or somewhere in between, but it does look to have the potential to go fully off the rails and present something that's truly chilling. See both, pop back, let me know what you thought. And to close out the month, on March 30th, we're diving into our first Universal Monsters Fair of the year as we revisit the Black Lagoon with the 70th anniversary of Revenge of the Creature. The only 3D film that was released in 1955, Revenge of the Creature follows a King Kong-style storyline wherein the creature is captured, chained up, and put on display, only to run amok as a result. Sorry for the spoiler, you had 70 years. We all know at this point that Del Toro's Shape of Water is his creature from the Black Lagoon, right? Universal didn't want it, he re-outfitted it and gave it a different name. With the themes of capture, exploitation, the allusions to the creature being attracted to the female lead, the attempts to bridge communication, and the ask of the audience to sympathize with the creature, I honestly feel that Revenge of the Creature may have been the movie that Del Toro was attempting to reinterpret. Also, fun fact, the flick features a 25-year-old Clint Eastwood in his first film role. He's not credited, but he plays a scientist that didn't know that there was a live rat in his pocket.
I mean, it could happen to anybody.
And there you go. So that's going to do it for today, creeps. Do all these things, let me know what you're going to be watching in March and what I missed right over here. And as always, this is all just a matter of opinion. See them yourself, make your own decisions, remain critical,
Support horror.